welcome to the 4th episode, I think, of our podcast, Booty and Brains. I'm your host, Brittany.
Luna!
Yeah, we're just going to talk about a bunch of different spooky stuff today, ghosts, and...
Happy Friday the 13th.
Yes, and it's also Friday the 13th, which is really, really awesome. My luckiest day.
I'm always scared of Friday the 13th, honestly, but that's okay. It's also a superstition, so I don't necessarily believe it.
Yeah, I've never believed it because nothing bad ever happens to me. I always have the opposite, just really, really good luck. Yeah. And it's weird because my grandma told me that when I was a very little girl, like that was, she was watching me, and Friday the 13th, the first one, like the original, like the 80s one, was on TV, and she let me watch it. So that was my very first horror movie that I ever watched.
Maybe that's why.
It's my luckiest day.
Maybe that's why. Maybe you just loved it so much.
Yeah, I loved it so much.
We'll talk about some spooky stories and some spooky experiences, because I'm probably scared of Friday the 13th because I grew up in a scary haunted house. So,
has anything bad ever happened to you on it? Like, actually?
Not actually, no.
Okay.
No. Like, maybe I can't, but no, not something that I would remember.
No.
Also, an interesting spooky story about shadow people. Has anybody seen shadow people before? Because if they have, this is for you.
For some background story, I was a bad kid, and I got in trouble a lot, which meant in school suspension, or out of school suspension, which meant my dad had to take off work sometimes, which he didn't like. Anyways, I was suspended from school for a couple days for yelling at the teacher, I think. So naturally, I got bored of not doing anything, and my dad was in his gaming area. Dad has a gaming area. And I was playing with, that's going to be fucking my husband.
Yeah.
And I was playing with Legos and Barbies. I was in 2nd grade, so don't judge. No one's judging. And I saw a shadow figure. I didn't know what these were at the time, me being in 2nd grade and all. It was in the shape of a young woman who looked a lot like my teacher at the time. I was confused because I had never seen anything like this before. It walked to the bathroom, so me being in 2nd grade, I followed it. It disappeared when I got to the bathroom. I thought nothing of it and went back to my room, but not before telling my dad. He told me it was my imagination and told me to leave it alone. But because our house had been broken into before he checked it out, and said that must have been my own shadow. I left it alone and forgot about it until a couple weeks later. I saw the same shadow person in my dream, and when I woke up, I had scratches on my face. It couldn't have been me because I used to bite my nails.
All the way down.
Yeah, all the way down. We had no pets at the time, and my younger siblings, goes by they, them, slept in older siblings' room. I told my dad about it, and he saw the scratches on my face and put some antibiotic ointment on it and sent me to school. I forgot about it again until years later. 3 years ago, I was in the 7th grade, 10th grader, and my friend told me about how he saw a shadow person in his room the night before with the same exact description. My heart fell to my stomach as I told him that I saw it too, years ago. He looked at me with a pale face and said, "What?" and then asked if it scratched me in the face.
Oh my God.
My heart fell to my stomach as he said it showed up to my room last night in my closet and stared at me for almost an hour and then vanished.
No.
I said, "How did you know it scratched me in the face?" He said, "That's what they do. They show up and scratch your face." I got scared and thought he was messing with me until I went to his house and saw it in his closet. It looked at me and him, and then left. It's been almost 3-4 years, and we still haven't talked about it. He moved to another state, but we still keep in contact. We're both going into 10th grade this year. It still scares me to this day.
That's so creepy, because I don't remember what friend it was at my house, but I had a friend at my house one time, and they went, "Ouch!" and lifted up their shirt, huge scratch down their back.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, weird, because that happened to, that happened to Joel. I have the pictures of he had it was like a burn, and it was all different ways.
That's weird. Yeah, this one was just like, it looked like somebody scratched their back, and it was at my house, and I can't remember who it was, though.
No?
No. I can't remember who it was. It
weird.
was probably like a friend that I'm not friends with anymore or something.
Yeah.
But, yeah, that's creepy. That's really creepy.
Yeah.
Ooh.
I don't think I've ever had I don't think I've ever had a shadow person.
Except for that one.
I mean, except for that. Yeah, but that was different because I wasn't like awake. I was in an OBE.
Yeah.
So, yeah. That's another tale for another time. That's got to be a specific OBE.
I was actually talking to my client today about ghost stories because I mentioned that I had the podcast. And I was telling them about my experience.
Yeah.
Do you want to hear my experience?
Of course.
Okay.
That's what we're here for.
So, my house was haunted growing up. And I say was because it's not really affecting me now, and I live in the basement suite of the same house. But ever since I was really, really young, I always felt like uncomfortable. Just oddly uncomfortable. Almost like somebody was watching me, but only when I was alone. So my dad has a workshop where he works on cars and stuff, and we have an intercom. So old school.
Yeah.
But when he's in the workshop, he contacts me on the intercom, so I always was able to talk to my dad. I wasn't really alone.
Yeah.
And I remember painting like this horse picture because I was obsessed with horses and unicorns, obviously, little girl, whatever. And I remember being like, okay, well, if I keep the radio on, it will keep it away. But I don't remember what it was.
Yeah.
And now that I've looked into frequencies and quantum physics and all this nerdy stuff, I know that radio is a frequency, and it actually makes it harder for them to manifest. So that's why I was like, when the radio's on, I feel safe. So anyways, ever since I was young, had lots of weird little things here and there, like light switches go on and off, and me seeing the light switch move and being like, that's weird. But nothing really that strange happened. And then when I turned 12 to 13, I was I grew up Christian. I'm not anymore, but I was. And my cat just passed away about a week ago at this time. Yeah. And I was in bed praying to God, and I was like, thank you for blah, blah, blah. Like, I really miss my cat, Smokey. I was kind of crying and, like, praying in bed. And I had this, like, pink light, like, big light, like one of these big lights above my bed. So the light was on in the room. My parents were all awake downstairs, and my sister. And, I was praying to God, and thank you, blah, blah, blah. And suddenly this pitch black figure appears in front of my bed, like right in front of my closet. And it was like 7 foot tall figure of a man. And it was like the darkest black void color you could ever see. I can't even explain how dark it was. It's like the blackest black. Yeah. And it was just standing there. And I was like terrified. And I thought that if I continued to pray and pretended I couldn't see it, maybe it would go away. Yeah. And so I was just like, thank you, God, like terrified. And then it moved over to the side of the bed and like kind of leaned down and disappeared. And I basically shot myself. Like, not really, but kind of. And I was terrified. I wanted to get up and run downstairs to tell my parents, but I felt like if I got up, it would get me. Yeah. So I was like literally basically paralyzed in bed in fear. And I like was awake for an hour after that thinking about it, and then eventually went to sleep after like 2 hours of being terrified because I couldn't get up. Then I told my parents the next day, and of course they were like, oh, you were just seeing things, like could be a trick of the light. I was like, I saw a full-blown figure of a man. Yeah. Like, it's not a trick of light. And then nothing happened for a bit. Then I had some friends over. We were in the basement and just hanging out, and I was like, hey, like, for example, hey, Sarah, where are you going? And she's like, I'm right here. And I swore I saw, like, somebody get up and walk the other way. Oh, yeah. But nobody walked the other way. And I had my friends saying that they saw, like, a figure out of the corner of their eye walking. Yeah. So that was really weird. I'd have friends say they saw something. And then there was another time where there's so many little stories. I'm going to try and say the most prominent ones. There was one time when I was talking to my friend, like how me and you are talking now, in my bedroom, and we were facing each other talking like this, and then we both looked that way, looked back at each other, and we were like, did you just see that?
No way.
Yeah, it's my friend Carrie, and we were both like, you just saw that, right? I just saw that, yeah. We were sober, and it was a black stroke in the middle of the air, almost like a paintbrush stroke.
Yeah, I remember this story.
Yeah, and it was so weird because we both saw it at the same time. Yeah. And then this is where it starts to get extra creepy. and I'm just saying the shadow figure part. Throughout all these years, I had weird things happen here and there, but nothing poltergeisty, just bizarre stuff.
Yeah.
Like weird noises, sleep paralysis I would get. But yeah, I was friends with this girl named Sydney in elementary school, maybe grade 3 or 2, so we were like 8 years old.
Yeah.
We were best friends. Both had ADHD, super hyper, like crazy hyper. Every week I'd go to her house. The next week she'd go to my house. So we'd rotate and just hang out all the time when we were younger. We had a great time. We always played hide and seek, and it was just so much fun. And in my dad's workshop, he has life-size cutouts of famous people like Marilyn Monroe. What's that Evelyn Gothic girl? What's her name? Elvira, yeah. And then, I don't know, Tasmanian Devil, some cartoon characters, but like life-size cardboard cutouts. He had them all throughout the workshop.
Yeah.
And we'd play hide and seek down there and play hide and seek in my house and whatever. Good times. We drifted apart as friends. We never really had a bad fallout. And then in high school, I failed Math 10. And I had to redo it. So when I redid it, I ended up being she was a year younger than me, so I ended up being in her class.
Yeah.
So then me and her reconnected, and I ended up like telling her the story of the black figure, and her jaw dropped basically, and her face turned white, and she was like, "I never told you." Mm-hmm. And I was like, "What do you mean you never told me?" And she said, "Every time we played hide and seek and you left the room, that figure would be standing there. And I never told you because I thought it was a cardboard cutout." She said she saw it at least 20 or 30 times, like every time she came over.
Oh my God.
And since she was so young, she was confused, and it would never move. She said it would just stand there in the corner watching. Just, it wouldn't move. So that's why she was so young and thought it was a cardboard cutout, because it was just still, didn't move.
Yeah.
But she said it's just like the figure I described. And also I found it bizarre that it only showed up when I wasn't in the room.
Yeah.
And I've heard things about spirits or have an easier time manifesting when not a lot of people are in the room.
Yeah.
So it'd be like every time I left the room, it would stand there. She said it would stand at the bottom of my basement, just like this.
Interesting.
So fucking scary.
Yeah.
And then a similar thing happened when I turned 23. Or 22-ish to 23, I was dating this guy named Levi, and me and him like just started dating. I think it was like 5-6 months in. I didn't really tell him about any of my ghost stories because I didn't think they were relevant. Nothing was happening at the time. Mm-hmm. And I did end up telling him about that figure, and when I told him, his face went white. He was like, "I see that at the end of your bed every other night." Yeah. And he was like, "I just didn't tell you because I thought I was dreaming."
Oh God.
So he'd get up to go to the bathroom, and he's like, "I've seen it at least 10 times right in front of your closet when I get up at night to go to the bathroom."
Oh my God.
Yeah. And I said, "Well, you weren't dreaming. That's the thing in my house." So yeah, it was really, really, really weird. And I got a shaman to bless my place, and in the end, it was actually a native spirit that was really angry that we took its land. Mm-hmm. And he didn't mean to scare me apparently, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was pretty scary.
Yeah.
And I think I also manifested him as scary, but yeah, having somebody else tell you they saw the same thing is what really tripped me out. And then now I have 2 cats, mm-hmm. and nothing happens, and my cat listened. The first time I ever saw it was a week after my cat passed away, remember? Yeah. I just said that.
Yeah! Oh my God!
And in Egyptian culture,
the cats, they protect against the negative spirits. Mm-hmm. Holy shit.
And I never saw it until my cat passed away.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's why, like, Egyptians worship them because they have, everybody's heard cats have a sixth sense. They're mm-hmm. supposed to protect us from beings like that. So I have 2 cats now. I live in the basement suite. Never had a problem. I have saged it and done some spiritual work. But I do think a lot of it has to do with the cats.
That's super interesting because, okay, so in here, Joel, my husband, he's the one that has bad experiences. Like, he got the scratches, but it's because he's, like, drinking heavily a lot. Mm-hmm. And, I think he has, like, negative energy and, alcohol and drugs and things mm-hmm. like that. You have a protective, mm-hmm. Aura around mm-hmm. you. And when you drink and do drugs, mm-hmm. like, it dissipates mm-hmm. that. And then these things are easier able to attach to you, right? So,
exactly, yeah.
When I leave the room, stuff happens to him, like stuff that wouldn't happen to me, like and that's how I know it's not, related to like my sister or something like that, because it's different shit.
They're attached to negative energy.
Totally. Yeah, so I'll leave the room and he's like, oh my God, can you come back? And, just stuff like that. But sometimes if, like, we sleep together in the bed, obviously we do all the time, but there have been and for a very long time, the cats would not, there would be certain nights where the cats would not let me sleep in the bedroom with them.
I remember you were saying.
They would fucking make every single noise to get me to leave the bedroom and go sleep on the couch instead. And then they would be fine. And it would be, if I didn't do it, it would be all night that they would try, and I would just not get any sleep. I was like, what the hell is going on? Well,
it could also be, that it's, if he is drinking, they're attracted to that. Because remember, I told you about why alcohol is called spirits?
Yes.
So alcohol has the nickname spirits because...
Alcohol, or whatever it means. Doesn't it mean spirit?
Something like that, yeah. So it's called that because they think when you drink and you black out that you actually get possessed by a spirit. Or it leaves you open to other things to come in. And that's why when people black out, sometimes they're like, oh, I wasn't myself.
Yeah.
That wasn't me.
You don't remember, you're going all crazy.
And even smoking weed when I was younger up in that house, every time I did, I felt so much more uncomfortable, and I could definitely feel whatever that was in my presence. And I did have one time I had a candle lit, like a heavy glass candle, and I went to the bathroom and knocked over. But nothing could knock over a glass candle like that. And it was like on the counter. There's no way. So, that was weird. Tons of weird little things like that. And the toilet flushing, but actually seeing the handle move.
Yeah.
I was like, okay. Kind of spooky, but like, yeah. And they're very attracted to negative energy. So if there's any depression or sadness there, that's what they are attracted to. And that's why you gotta do the inner light. Kind of like Harry Potter.
Yeah.
Against those, whatever they were called.
What are they called? What are they called from Harry Potter?
Oh, I can't remember. There's some weird name for it.
Yeah. Back to sort of like the shadow people type of thing. I never saw like shadow people awake, right? But there was a time when we had moved into a new house, and it was like one of the first nights, and it was in October because I was getting ready to go out and see the new Annabelle movie in the theater with Joel, and I'm getting ready, and my little sister, Paige, she's like a teenager, and her friends were like kind of hanging out downstairs in like the basement area. My bedroom was like in the basement, but not, in the main part. And I could hear them and stuff, and I was getting ready in the bathroom, and I am kind of getting pissed off because they're being loud. They're being really annoying, and then I see the same outfit, ponytail, shorts, everything. Paige, my sister, she walks right past me and goes right into my bedroom, and I'm like, what the fuck? As I get out of the bathroom, and I'm like, my head's down, like looking at something, and I'm like, Paige, what the hell are you doing in my...
Yeah.
And there's nobody in my bedroom at all, and so I'm like, I look around in the basement, and nobody's there. I go upstairs, and I'm like, hey, did you go into my bedroom? And she's like, we haven't even been downstairs for a bit.
Creepy.
Like, so like and there were certain things like that in that house where it was like, like mimicking our family members and stuff. And remember when you and I, that stuff was happening to me, you and I did the tarot cards, and we blessed the basement and asked it to leave me alone. So right after we did that, I got up, and it was early morning, whatever. I got up, I went to school, and I would leave like really early in the morning to go to school. And my sister, she would come over in the mornings, like have coffee with my dad and my mom and shit. And my mom wakes up, and she sees my sister standing at the top of the stairs. You can hear like she's like got her ear like this. She's like trying to hear something downstairs in the basement. And my mom's like, she comes down the stairs and she's like, what are you doing? And my sister's like, oh, just hear like Brittany laughing downstairs. She's like doing this weird chuckle. I'm trying to see what she's laughing about. And my mom's like, well, Brittany left half an hour ago, so that's not Brittany.
Yeah. Oh, so creepy.
I know, but it's weird because it was
right
like
after I said to leave you alone.
Leave me alone, but it was like still telling my sister like, I'm still get to hang out down here and fuck with you, but I'm not allowed to mess with Brittany.
Yeah. Ugh.
It was pretty creepy. I still get chills from that.
Me too.
Yeah.
And I believe in like angels, but I think they're just benevolent extraterrestrial beings. Long story short. But when we did that reading, I asked Archangel Michael to be there, and I remember the spirit couldn't come near us. And then I actually had to ask Archangel Michael to leave, and the moment Archangel Michael left, the spirit was right there and able to talk to us. So I think it was definitely not a benevolent spirit, and I think that area where we lived was very, the grounds on there is very weird. That's what I was told by the shaman person. There's a lot of energy. Well, when I kind of like what you were saying, how it insinuated, haha, I'm still here.
Yeah.
When I moved into the basement suite from my house, and also I have no fear of that thing that was in my house anymore at this point, but when I moved down, I saged my basement suite immediately when I got there and like blessed it and had no bad vibes. But then the like week that I moved in, I had this nightmare dream where I was upstairs in the house where I used to live with my mom, and I was pointing to the tree in the backyard in the dream, and in the dream it like zoomed up to the tree, and it was the pitch black figure of the man. And I was like, Mom, look, it's watching me, and it's like zooming in on it in the dream of that black figure, and I was like, he's watching me, and then that was the dream. And then I think what it was trying to say was, I'm not allowed in the house, but I'm still watching you from the trees.
Ew. Okay.
Yeah. I've never had a dream about it before, ever, actually.
Wow.
That was the only dream I've ever had about it.
Okay. Yeah. Some chills going here.
So there was a time when I didn't know what was going on at my house, and I actually had me and her mess with it. And we didn't know if it was one thing or if it was a female and a male, because sometimes beings mimic other things, so they can pretend to be a female.
Yeah.
So me and her actually were looking at this thing about this door you can imagine, and you can push spirits in the door and lock them up so they don't bug you anymore, especially if they're evil beings. And we did that, but we had, after that, you had a dream. Remember, you had a dream where you were in my kitchen, and the man was there.
Oh, yeah, that's
you
right.
You need to talk about that one.
You mean the face changing?
Yeah, this crying, the bloody tears, how sad it was.
Yes, and then, like, how it went.
In that part of my backyard or something?
Yes. If I can remember this. Let's see. I was in your house, and it was, like, all of a sudden there was, like, one man, and he was, like, it looked like he was in a suit or something, and, like, his face was, like, really red and stuff, and, like, he really had, like, this really sad look on and stuff, and then he, like, had a knife, and he was, like, trying to stab at things, and then I was, like, trying to get away from him, and then another one appeared, and so there's two of the identical same things of these men, and they're doing the same things. They're trying to run after me in your house.
Yeah.
And then there was a third one.
Yeah.
They just kept appearing and stuff, and like I had gone upstairs and I hid in this room, and I went and I closed my eyes because like in a dream, like I would close my eyes and open it to
a different place,
to make a different place, and I did that, but they came into the place
and followed you.
They came into the place that I changed to, so I couldn't change the dream, and then it ended up. I don't remember how it ended up in the backyard, but it ended up in the backyard. They all ended up killing each other.
Oh, I don't remember that detail.
Yeah.
Because I wonder, because the lady was trying to say it was a native spirit, but I wonder if there's like more than one, right?
Yeah.
They all are like angry, like maybe some sort of curse or something. I just thought it was really weird because that happened after me and her screwed around with it. So it's probably like, fuck this chick, like I'm going to get her in her dreams. And then there was one time me and you were in the backyard, and we actually, I was like, okay, well, we can cleanse the house. We're powerful enough. Yeah. So we got a blanket in the backyard and the candles, and remember we held each other's hands and meditated? Yeah. And we were imagining white light from our, like, heart going through the house, pushing it out, and saying, like, no negative energies are allowed here. Like, you need to go rest in peace or go where you belong, but this is not where you belong. Yeah. And we were, like, holding our hands, imagining that, and trying to cleanse the house, and then suddenly it felt like somebody went into my spine and like pulled me apart from you, and she felt it at the same time, and we were both like, ah, and we had to stop. And it literally was like it was pulling us apart, because it was like, no, F you, you can't do this. Yeah. And then you said you saw like some face above me or something weird.
Yeah, it was like just a light like image of a woman.
Oh, which is creepy, because I felt like there was a female presence at that time when we were doing that. Yeah. So that was really, really weird as well. I am very curious. I know the shaman said it's a native spirit, but I feel like there's other stuff going on there. And she told me there was. She said there's other things going on. But yeah, those were interesting times.
I want to talk about something really, really crazy. So I used to have a Tumblr, and I would get really bored, and I would get people to send me. I would do posts, and I would get people to send me their paranormal stories. Mm-hmm. And I got one and it's a long one. That haunts me to this fucking day, because it actually just validates so much about the experience of it, and what people say it is. And Okay. Anyways, I'm just gonna go. One year for Thanksgiving, when I was living with my parents, I was home alone with my dog, purebred German Shepherd. My parents went out of town for Thanksgiving to spend it with my grandparents, and I had to work the day after Black Friday, so I ended up just staying home alone to take care of the dog. I was 22 at the time, and around then was when Four Loko had come out, before they were watered down, so they were pretty popular. Decided I was going to get myself one and call that my Thanksgiving dinner. So I spent that evening up all night drinking and playing some computer games, hanging out in my room with the dog. And around 2 a.m. decided to call it a night. Went from the desk to the bed, which was just a mattress on the floor. It was on the floor for a couple reasons. Being that I prefer to lay lower, and my dog at the time was getting older and was struggling a bit to getting up onto the bed when it was tall. So I kept it low for her. So chilling on the bed for a bit, watching TV, turned off the TV probably around 2:30 a.m. or so to get some sleep. Mm-hmm. The dog and I...
Worst time of the night.
I know. The dog and I had been asleep when for some reason my eyes shot open. Not the eyelids prying apart open, but straight open. Confused, I scanned around the room, unsure what was going on. I quickly realized that I could not move. I tried to sit up, but couldn't. Tried to move and roll over, but could not. I began to panic and breathe a little heavily, confused to what was happening even more now. Something had caught my eye often, my peripherals, to the frame of the doorway. Now again, it's late and dark. I'm the only one home, so everything was off. But there was a small nightlight in the hall between my room and the bathroom, so there's some very dim ambient lighting. But in my doorway, with the ambient lighting, was a silhouette of something standing at the entrance to my room. It was tall. The door I had for my room was taller than a standard door, probably about 8.5 to 9 feet tall. The shadow standing in the door was nearly as tall as it, give or take a foot or so from the top of the frame. It was huge. I vividly remember seeing this figure in the doorway and getting these chills that ran over my entire body. No light was passing through the shadow. It was blocking out some of the hall night light. I began to panic more. I started hyperventilating, which woke my dog up. She took a second to check me over, and when she realized I was breathing heavily and wasn't moving, she stood up to see what was wrong. At that point, I began to hear her growl. She jumped over me and stood between myself and the doorway, hair on her back standing straight up, and a snarl I've never heard from her as she faced what was standing there. I was even more panicked now. I furiously began to try my hardest to move at all. I had to move. After focusing all my energy, I was finally able to get my hand and fingers to move just enough to grab my TV remote control, which was laying near me on the bed. I managed to hit the power button on the TV, which felt like it took forever before turning on. But once light from the screen lit up my room, everything stopped. The shadow figure in the doorway was gone. I was able to move as if I had not just struggled with it. No more chills or uneasy feeling, just left there confused. Sat up and took a second to try to figure out what was going on. My dog had come again to check on me before she laid back down on her side of the bed. It bothered me for days. I was unable to sleep.
Does that computer just turn on for no reason?
Sometimes it does. I don't know why.
Okay, go on.
Yeah. It bothered me.
And then it turned off. Okay, go on.
Okay.
Weird.
It bothered me for days. I was unable to sleep, worrying about what had happened to me, and turned to some online searching to find out about sleep paralysis. And after spending a lot of time reading it, I had felt I found the answer, except if that was the case, what did my dog see? She couldn't have known what was bothering me because I wasn't able to point, show, or tell her what it was or what to do. Mm-hmm. She somehow knew. So if that was sleep paralysis, why did she see what I saw?
Mm-hmm. Well, sleep paralysis, like when you look it up on Google, the original definition is basically a witch or some being sitting on top of somebody. Yeah. That's where the original definition of sleep paralysis comes from.
Yeah, the old Hague.
The old Hague.
Yeah.
So that just reminded me of that creepy stuff that you had happen with that old lady at your parents' house and that.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck. Yeah. That can be another time.
Yes.
But yeah, sleep paralysis, it's interesting because they actually have never found out what actually causes it. They don't understand.
Yeah, like they say it's like when you're in between.
Yeah, but they don't know why people get it.
Yeah.
And
you can't really stop it.
Can't stop it. The only way to cure it or stop it is heavy medication or some belief system. Yeah. They said that if you believe in religion or God, most people who pray to God get out of it. Even
my brother-in-law, he did it, and he was able to get out of it, and I've done it.
By, like, praying.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you said the same thing about you. You had it like feeling on your chest, right? And she said every time you said the word God, it like lifted.
Yeah, actually, specifically Jesus.
Oh, Jesus. Okay.
But okay, I'm not religious. I'm spiritual. I don't necessarily not believe in things, though. I believe that Jesus, Moses, the people that were real from the Bible, I just think they were people that were benevolently touched by aliens.
Yeah.
And I think the aliens, or they were aliens.
Yeah.
But I believe they existed. And I think that there is the power of certain words. Like, so many people believe, obviously, in Jesus and believe that he's a powerful, benevolent person.
Yeah.
And that the word itself carries so much power.
Yeah.
So it's not even necessarily to do with Jesus himself.
It's the belief behind it, yeah.
And the belief behind it and the power that word has and all the people that have used that word positively.
Yeah.
So it's almost like saying love, in a sense. But yeah, I actually had sleep paralysis when I was 14 after I saw that figure. I started to get really emo at the time.
Yeah.
I had sleep paralysis nonstop for like a month. And it got to the point where it was more like I would wake up, I could see everything, I couldn't move, and I'd have like a stabbing pain in my side, and it felt really uncomfortable, and I needed to get out, and I prayed, and lots of times then, because I was really scared, it wouldn't work, and I wouldn't be able to get out of it, and it got to the point where at the end of the month, I told my dad, I was like, I think I need to go to the doctor, because I'm scared to go to bed, and the moment I told my dad that, it stopped.
Really?
And then it never happened again until I was 21 or 20.
Yeah.
And that was the one that you were talking about.
Yeah.
So I was going to bed around 3 a.m. It was actually like 5 or 10 minutes to 3 a.m.
Wow.
And I was like, oh, this is kind of a bad time to go to bed. But my dog was on the bed and I felt safe. So I was like, it's fine. And this is after I researched a lot of stuff about energies and frequencies, and I already knew that if you have a pure love energy, that a negative energy can't overcome a positive energy. Positive frequencies always cancel out negative frequencies, and emotions carry those frequencies. So anyways, I was going to bed. I just texted my ex-boyfriend at the time, and I was just sitting there, and suddenly I felt this huge pressure on me, and I could see the blanket suck to me, suction to me. And immediately I knew it was that thing in my house.
Yeah.
And I wasn't scared because I already learned about fear being bad, but I felt so angry. And then I started middle fingering it with my spirit hand, because you can't actually move your body, but sometimes you can move your spirit hand.
Your astral body.
Yeah. So I started middle fingering him, being like, F you, you're not allowed to do this to me. Like, you have no right to interfere with me. Like, F you, F you. And then I realized, I was like, hold on. Why am I mad? I shouldn't be mad. And I was
more
like...
negative emotion.
Yeah, because it couldn't get fear, so it got anger out of me.
Yeah.
And then I calmed down, and I was like, you're not allowed near my space. Like, in Jesus' name, get off of me.
Yeah.
And then I said, you're not allowed in my space. Like, in Jesus' name. And every time I said that, I like felt it lift off. It was like a good 5 minutes, because then I went back into being angry.
Yeah.
Because you're not fully awake, kind of. And it's almost like you're conscious, but not really. Mm-hmm. And I was like, no, positive. And then I like put that loving feeling towards it, and bam, it was gone. My hand was in the middle of the air. It was exactly 3 a.m., like on the dot.
Holy shit.
And it actually never really bugged me. I never had that happen after that. I felt like I kind of fucking kicked his ass, to be honest. Yeah, because it couldn't win. No. Like, I wasn't scared at all. I actually, once I got out of it, I was like, shit, bitch. Yeah. Like, you can't fuck with me. But I think a lot of people don't know that fear is what drives them, and if you're not scared, they have no power over you. Yeah. Especially since we're in a physical body in this dimension, and they're not. Yeah. So we have the more power than them. We are physical, and we have our spiritual body. We have both. Yeah, so exactly. They're like powerless technically. Yeah. Unless they scare you.
Unless and they slowly get you, and that's why you always hear, when somebody moves, people move into this nice, beautiful home, and like, or an older home, and like things, start happening small first, and then it gets more and more as they get more scared. Yeah. And stuff like that. It's just like classic horror movie shit, but it carries some weight actually.
And like growing up in my house, it wasn't like a horror movie because it was only once a month something weird happened, but I did have a time where I was arguing with my mom really bad when I was younger, and this is around the time, I heard banging noises, and the banging noises was actually a reoccurrent thing, but I was arguing with my mom, and I heard like a demonic thing in my ear. I was sober, I don't have psychosis, disclaimer. Right in my ear, I heard, Luna, like in a demonic voice, like very, very loud. And it was just super weird, and it happened out of nowhere. And I did one other time hear it talk, and I think it was trying to make me think it was a demon or something. Yeah. Because it was a few days after Christmas, and it was in the middle of the day, or not in the middle of the day, in the morning. I was blow drying my hair in the hallway. Yeah. And I always had weird feelings on one side of my house, was weirder vibes than the other side. Yeah. And I was right in the cusp of being close to the weird side. And I was blow drying my hair, and I turned the blow dryer off, and I heard a full sentence, not English. Mm-hmm. It was like some weird fucking demonic deep voice come from the spare room. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it was daytime, so I got up and looked, and nothing was there. Nobody was up there. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't just like I said a word, it was a full sentence. Yeah. So
and to make itself known. Yeah. Like you're not just hearing things. This is.
Yeah, and I definitely think it wanted me to perceive it as a demon. Yeah. At the time. Mm-hmm. Yeah, sleep paralysis is really scary though.
Yeah, I'll tell another one. And my sister was in rehab. Her and I, I was already in bed, and she had called me, and she had just watched a movie that I told her to watch or something. So anyway, she was like, "Are you awake?" And I'm like, yeah, I'll go into the living room. And so we ended up being on FaceTime for a really long time and just talking and really having that really hardcore sister connection that we used to have before all the drugs and shit like that. Right? It was this reconnect of that energy for us. So and we talked a lot about some ghost shit and sleep paralysis stuff too. And then she was kind of scared to go to sleep, and she's like, I feel like something's gonna happen tonight. She's like, I just feel like I can feel it. And I'm like, oh yeah, it's gonna be okay. You're gonna be okay. You can call me, I'll wake up, whatever. And so she goes to sleep. I go to sleep, and my eyes shoot open, and I can't move. And I can see coming down the hall. There's a light, it looks like a blue light coming down the hall, and it's getting closer and closer, and I can feel this. I can feel the most intense fear, and I'm trying so hard to knock it off, right? But it's getting closer and closer, and there's no body to thing, because like once it was in the bedroom, I was extremely scared, and I felt like it pick me up by my neck and hold me by my bed. And then I grabbed with my astral arms, of course, my ice water and put it on myself, and I was able to get up.
Oh!
And when I woke up, Danica, she was texting me. She's like, "Are you awake?" And I was like, "Yeah." And I called her instantly.
Yeah.
We FaceTime, and she's like, "What happened?" I'm like, "Oh, I told her this." She's like, "Well, let me tell you something."
Oh, no.
She goes, "I had a dream that I was watching you have sleep paralysis, and to get you out of it, I put you into an ice bath."
Whoa.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so weird.
I know. I got so many I think about that because, like, when we were younger, we had connected dreams, too.
Yeah.
So, for this, and for that to be, like, the last fucking... Well,
yeah.
It's not the last, because even after death,
yes.
But for that to just be a thing was really insane for us, because we were like, there's no way.
Yeah.
She's like, how did that happen?
Yeah. Oh, that's so weird. I was like... Oh, that's so strange.
Yeah.
I was thinking about one other story that I can share about almost possession.
Okay.
So I was dating this guy named Alex when I was in my early 20s. And he had a lot of lucid dreams and stuff. And he actually, after I told him about all the ghost stories in my house, he was like, "Oh, I want to fuck with it."
Yeah.
It's like, I want to screw around with it and see if I can see it. So he told me, he literally told it in his mind, "Come and get me, bitch."
Yeah.
Like, I dare you, basically. And then a week later, he was at my house.
Yeah.
And my mom had her friend over who had a daughter, a small daughter, and that daughter loved me, right? Yeah. And I planned to make cookies with her that night. And I wanted Alex to make the cookies with us. But he was up in my room, and we were cuddling, and as we were cuddling, I was like, "Okay, well, I'm going to go make those cookies soon, and, like, I know you're a bit tired, but you can rest up here and come down later to make them with us." And as we're cuddling, suddenly he's, like, kind of closed his eyes, and then his eyes were, like, kind of half open, sort of.
Yeah.
And he was like, "Oh, it feels like there's something in my head." And I was like, "What do you mean?" And he's like, "Oh, it feels so weird. It feels like there's something in my head. It feels like it's scratching. I can't get out. Like, it feels like there's something in my head." And I started kind of freaking out because I was like, "I don't know what to do. Like, are you okay?" And he's like, "I don't know. It feels so weird. It feels like something's in my head. Something's in my head." And I can't remember all the details, but I ended up calming him down. We cuddled. And I said, "Okay, you just calm down and take a nap. Like, I'll come back up." And he's like, okay. So he went, after that little freak out, he calmed down, he had a nap.
Yeah.
And then I went and did the cookies, whatever. So then I came up like 2 hours later with that girl, and I thought we'd surprise him. Yeah. So she came up and she was like, "Wake up, Alex."
I remember this.
Yeah, she was like, "Wake up, Alex." And he was like, "Fuck off." And threw the toy at her, and she was literally like 6. Yeah. And I was like, "Alex, like, do not say that." And he was like, "Fuck off, get out of here, fuck off." And I was like, "What the hell?" So I, like, let her, I told her to go downstairs, and I talked to him. I'm like, "You cannot treat her like that. She is a young girl. You cannot say that." And he's like, "I don't fucking care." He's like, his eyes are half closed. Yeah. And he's like, "I want to get the fuck out of here. I'm leaving now." And I'm like, "You're not even awake." And so I sat him down. I'm like, "Alex, you're not awake. Wake up. You're, like, sleepwalking, right?" And he was like, "Fuck you, fuck off, like, don't even talk to me, like, I don't want to, and I'm gonna leave. Wow. And he was just not awake. Yeah. Like, his eyes were open a bit, but and then he would close them, and they were mostly closed. Yeah. And so I started to panic, and I held him really close as he was, like, swearing at me, and I prayed. I was like, "Please, Creator, like, universe, like, if there's anything happening here, like, any negative energies, I'm like, make it go away. Yeah. Make it go away." Yeah. And I prayed, and I was crying, and I prayed, and then suddenly he was like, "Oh, hey, babe, like, what happened?" And I was like, he was like, "Why are we cuddling? Like, how long was I asleep for?" And I was like, "Do you not remember anything that just happened?" And he was like, "What do you mean? I was just sleeping." And I was like, the past 3 hours you were swearing at me and telling me you were going to leave and all this stuff.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, I didn't. And I said, yeah, you did. And he's like, no, that never happened. That didn't happen. You're imagining things. And I'm like, no, I'm not imagining things. That happened.
Yeah.
And like, even months down the road, he's like, that never happened. He fully didn't remember anything. Didn't want to believe me that any of that happened. But when I prayed, like I said, it stopped. So I think it was that being possessing him because he dared it.
Yeah. Well, have you seen the newest Conjuring movie yet?
I did, yeah.
You did? Oh, yeah, because it's like that. Because that's why I was able to possess him. Because he basically says, like,
come and get me. I barely remember it. I think I watched it after Halloween. I had to rewatch it. I'd rewatch it with you.
Yeah. You should
Yeah, that was really frustrating for me because he denied it, and it definitely happened, and it was like 3 hours of BS, right? Because I told him I swear at the girl, and he's like, I would never do that.
No, he would never do something like that.
Yeah, and for sure it's because he effed with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was really, really, really creepy. Do not like.
No.
Yeah, never try to screw around with stuff like that because you don't know what type of bad luck and stuff that they can bring.
Okay. So, me and my friends in the 6th and 7th grade were really into paranormal activity, spirits, etc. I said to them, hey, why don't I ask my brother to get us a Ouija board? And they all agreed. Keep in mind, my house I used to live in was haunted. Not in a bad way, just spirits have always been there with us since day one. They slam things, open things, move things around, make noise, etc. And so my brother got me a Ouija board, and I brought it to my friend's house while sneaking it into my school bag so the parents wouldn't notice. And we played it. I don't remember the first spirit we talked to, but I have some pretty scary, weird ones we have contacted. There was a spirit that always pretended to be someone she wasn't. She pretended to be my dead grandmother, my best friends, my best friend's guardian angel, etc. She told us she was lying, too. We got a bit upset and asked why, and she immediately went to no and went to goodbye. She was a very negative spirit, and I know she was, so I told my friends we had to get rid of her. And in order for us to do that, we had to get rid of the board. So we went to a nearby lake and put the Ouija board in a pillowcase, filled it with rocks, tied it with a rope and clips, and threw it in and screamed to leave us alone because she had been messing with us for a while. So we left it at that. And the day after I woke up, super sore all over my body, and that day my neck cramped up for no reason at all, and I had red spots on my thighs. To this day, I'm still terrified of Ouija boards. I wouldn't suggest playing with them ever.
Yeah, almost every story I've heard about Ouija boards is a no.
So bad, yeah, I know.
My dad said he had an experience
Your
once.
Dad?
Yeah, and he said it scared him so much, like they threw the Ouija board out. He can't even remember exactly what happened, but he got so terrified he like ran out of the house and like threw the Ouija board out.
Oh yeah, I believe that. I mean, and that was another thing was that my sister in rehab decided that she wanted to play with the Ouija board, and they were the three of them. They got the Ouija board. This guy, a girl, and Danica, and it was the girl died, then the guy died, and then Danica died.
Yeah, I remember you were telling me that. I really don't want to think it's related to that.
I know, but that's a pretty coincidence.
It is coincidental.
But and also, a lot of people do die when they go into rehab and stuff. I don't think, but
it is weird. All the people who play it. You're just opening a door for anyone.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
and I think those negative entities, they give more chances for things. They make it harder for you to succeed. They make it harder for you to live a proper, not a proper, but a good life. Yeah, I don't like to say the word proper life. But.
Yeah, that's also why I got a shaman to bless my property. I don't want my parents who are up in the house to have bad luck.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just all so bizarre. I had one friend also tell me how they saw a shadow figure ever since they started having astral projection experiences at the end of their bed as well. But it never talked to him.
No.
And he always would want to communicate with it, but he couldn't.
Right.
But he was never scared of it.
Right.
He had no fear, but it was like kind of just standing there. It was my client was telling me about how because he's from England, basically everything there's super old. All the buildings are really old. Like that's where all the Conjuring stuff is based, right?
Yeah.
And he has his parents, or I think it was his cousins or something, live in a fucking castle, like an actual castle.
Yeah.
That's from like cool. The early 1700s. Mm-hmm. And he said that whenever he was there, and he was a grown adult when he visits there. Yeah. And he felt so scared when there wasn't anybody in the room, like such an uncomfortable feeling. Like he'd hold his pee and not go to the bathroom. He wouldn't even go.
Oh my God.
He wouldn't even go because he felt so scared.
Aww.
But it was just such an uncomfortable feeling, like something was there, like right behind him. And I think he said he actually tried to go to where the bathroom was, and he felt something grab his ankles. So he never did that again. And he just felt so uncomfortable the whole time he was there.
Jeez.
And he's never had that feeling before anywhere else.
No.
And that's how I felt in my house growing up, and more when I smoked weed. Mm-hmm. I'd feel like I had to run to my room because something was right behind me.
Yeah.
Every time I feel like I had to run up the stairs and run and close my door, and I didn't feel safe till I was like in my room with the door closed.
Yeah.
And a lot of people have haunted houses experience that same feeling, like something's right behind them. Like,
yeah.
And they have to run to get into a room to feel comfortable.
Yeah. Very true.
And I guess the last few things I would say is the banging noises I would hear. One time, actually, when I was 13 or 14, after I had that experience, I was trying to sleep. I was trying to go to sleep, and I heard this loud ringing noise, and then I swear it felt like somebody punched me through my head.
Wow.
Like it literally felt like a ringing noise, and then like right through my head. And as that happened, I heard a loud bang noise, like bam, right on the other side of the wall. And I got so scared. I think I was actually 14. So scared, I slept with my parents that night.
You slept with your parents?
At age 14.
Oh my God.
I was so scared.
Oh my God.
I slept at the end of their bed. I was like, I have to. I'm sorry. I just had the scariest thing happen. And that was, I never saw anything. It's just so, it felt so uncomfortable.
Oh.
And then I would hear me and my friends would be hanging in the basement and nobody would be home. It'd be 3 or 4 of my friends, and we'd hear this coming from upstairs. Yeah. But more loud, like somebody's hitting their head against the wall, super loud. And nobody was home, so I thought that was weird. I know big houses make noises as they attract and expand.
They don't make stomping noises.
No. And I went upstairs to follow the noise, and I went all the way up to that weird side of my house. Yeah. And then when I got up, it stopped. Yeah. So I was like, okay. Mm-hmm. And then the other weird experience I had with one of my exes when I was even younger, when I was or not younger, older, 18, 17, we were making out in the dark in the basement, blah, blah, blah. And then suddenly I saw this white flash up above my head, and I was like, what? Did you just see that? Mm-hmm. And he was like, no. And I was like, okay, so we continued making out. And he was like, oh, I just saw the same thing. Did you see that? I was like, no. And then we turned the lights on, because we were like, okay, this is weird. And we just were chilling, and then suddenly we heard this. Like a tapping noise. And we both were like, do you hear that? Yeah, I hear that. That's weird. And, I was like, maybe it's the furnace, because in the basement there was a furnace. So we went to this, and I always had nightmares about my basement. My whole life growing up, I always had nightmares of something being in my basement. It's super generic, I know. Yeah. But we walked towards this noise, and as we walked into that dark area of the basement, where I'd always have the nightmares of, it stopped. Mm-hmm. And I was like, okay, that was weird. And then there was one other time with the same guy. We were upstairs in the living room, and we were smoking weed, okay?
Yeah.
But weed doesn't make you see or hear things that aren't actually there.
Yeah.
Maybe for a millisecond, but not for long periods of time. Yeah. And we smoked quite a bit. We were watching TV, and we were couch bound. We could not move. We were stuck to the couch.
Yeah.
So stoned. But aware. And I heard the drawer open in the kitchen. I heard it open, and suddenly I heard utensils being all moved. Mm-hmm. So I opened the utensil door, and all the utensils are being moved. I could hear them. He could hear them. We looked at each other, and we were like, do we want to look?
Yeah.
And we were like, nope. So we just listened to it for about 2 minutes, being like, that's fucking weird.
Yeah.
And then it stopped. And then I would also have, when I was upstairs at my house, I would hear the chairs moving at night.
Yeah.
Like the legs of them being moved on the...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
that was really weird.
Jesus. Okay, we unfortunately have to wrap it up. This is going to be a longer episode. But anyways, thank you guys for listening or watching.
Thank you.
You know, it's on YouTube, Spotify, Apple. Like, you know, follow us on Instagram.
Yeah, make sure you follow us.
Everything, links to Luna's everything in the descriptions, of course, and links to my Instagram and TikTok or whatever.
Woo! I'm gonna have nightmares all night.
Yeah, I'm probably not.
Happy Friday the 13th.
Yeah. Happy Friday the 13th. Thanks for joining us, and don't forget to subscribe to everything.
Thank you.
Bye.